Holy mackerel, folks. They really hate each other now, and they cannot hide it anymore. King Charles and Prince William put on a united front last night. I thought that would dominate the headlines until I saw the simmering tension between the duplicitous Duke and his facelift-enhanced wife. Here's the red carpet arrival. See her face. You get here, mate. But on stage, when they knew everyone was filming on their mobile phones and taking pictures, it got even worse.
Which is what we began to do. Since then, as our network grew, we've seen the full scope of what we're facing. We have witnessed the explosion of unregulated artificial intelligence, heard more and more stories from heartbroken families, and watched parents all over the world become increasingly concerned about their children's digital.
The body language. My God, no amount of PR spin is going to deal with that. And there's this incredible moment that Revealing the Narc pointed out, actually, because do you remember Harry usually introduces his wife? Not last night. And my God, the look she shot him. It's so interesting is that he just doesn't seem to give a damn anymore. Now, Meghan, the actress, of course, had to stick to the script. And so we had the absolutely hilarious speech where she's trying to talk about the need to protect children from social media, even though she's pimping out her own children wherever she can, causing these tensions in her marriage. Watch. Independent news. We have no big tech backing or billionaires pulling my strings, but that does mean I need your support. So please hit subscribe on YouTube, turn on the notification bell. Royal YouTube sensation with me now. And as I say, Tash, look, originally I thought today was very much going to be about that incredible display between Charles and William breaking down in tears. And of course, we are going to get to that. But I'm sorry, when you saw what was going on stage last night, the Duke literally giving her evil eyes during her speech. This is unraveling in real time in front of the world, Tash. And I know we have been talking about what's been going on behind the scenes for so long, but they can't even cover it up now at a major event, which, remember, is their Humanitarian of the Year moment.
He completely checked out, Dan. Even I was shocked to see how much that he just wasn't even play acting. The moments there that you're showing where she's deliberately trying to do that look that she used to do, the doe-eyed look, so the cameras capture them glancing at each other. She did it when they were first together, and she's trying it there. And Harry must have sensed those eyes staring at him. He was having absolutely none of it. He walked ahead of her. He let him shake the gentleman's hand first. He didn't look back at her. Yes, he did put his arm around her back at one point to pose for photographs, but he's hardly going to push her away. But the reactions, the emotions just really weren't reaching his face. Maybe he is still very upset over her stunt over in Paris. I can't imagine that didn't go unnoticed by him. But yes, I mean, this was very clearly obvious. They were not in a good place.
No, indeed. Indeed, they were not. As Stephanie Sidley said, this is not a portrait of a happy couple. And I think you can say that is the understatement of the year. Harry's speech was so lackluster, Tash. As you say, I think he's furious about what went on in Paris, but they couldn't cancel this event. Want more hard-hitting Harry and Meghan coverage like this with the double standards called out? Hit subscribe right now and turn on the notification. Applause, Tash, because it's a message which doesn't ring true when it's coming from the Sussexes.
He's just so boring. He's so completely boring. Every speech is exactly the same. I go back to when he spoke at the UN on Nelson Mandela Day. He just has this tone to him that makes me want to stick my fingers in my ears. He just drags on. And every speech, yes, it is a very sensitive subject. Yes, I do believe there needs to be more out there to protect children on social media. Of course there does. But a lot of it does come down to parental responsibility. But he's going on about, the big corporations operations are at fault. And I can't help but feel that Harry, it seems to be using people's grief to push this control aspect that he and Meghan want to do. They want to control the narrative. They want to control what's put out in the media. They want to have full control of the propaganda. They don't like negative reporting. And it all stems back to this. And I really feel that these two have latched on to such a sensitive subject, which affects so many families around the world on a daily basis. And I think they're using it for their own gain. All we hear is him talking about the problems, the problems, the problems. What are the solutions? Why is he up there collecting a humanitarian award? What have he and Meghan actually done? What have they done to implement new changes? A few PR stunts, a few photo shoots. What about a 24-hour art installation that was there long enough for them to film themselves for their Archwell to do a slick video, but not long enough for members of the public to actually go view it? So it could have had some sort of impact.
100%, Tash, 100%. And look, there was a very telling moment behind the scenes last night. Look at this picture. Marcus Anderson.
He's everywhere.
Who has been blamed for the Paris debacle in shot. Now, the view of HRH Chelsea was that Harry is actually playing this well. Now, here's the explanation. He's allowing her and Marcus Anderson to get blamed for the Diana debacle. He's not involved at all, and he doesn't want the stain of that mess affecting his return to England. He's happy to let her and Marcus Anderson look like the couple of the three. And it was intriguing, Tash, that he was there at the gala last night.
He's always with them. He's always been a shadow there. I mean, you can imagine the divorce conversation. Many people have said it for years. There were three people in our relationship. He was there for all of the Netflix footage. If you actually look on some photographs, that's even surprised me, where I've been pulling stuff together for videos, Marcus is there an awful lot. When he went over to see Princess Eugenie, Marcus was there because he's a mutual friend of Princess Eugenie and Jack. He appears behind the scenes in absolutely everything, to the point that people have said that he's more like Meghan's handler than what he is a friend. But he has been there from the very beginning, since when we saw those shots where Harry looked a little bit shocked to see Meghan at the Invictus Games as he sat next to Justin Trudeau. And Marcus is just that little shadow that's always there. You know, they look like a throuple. They look like that they're in a relationship, all three of them.
Lady Colin Campbell's take on what went down last night, Tash, is worth sharing with you, hot off the press on X. She writes, so Meghan and Harry have arrived at the Spring Studios in Tribeca, holding hands and looking pleased as punch to collect the Humanitarian of the Year awards from Project Healthy Minds. The comment sections of the newspapers covering their arrival have been lethal. 99% negative. The game really seems to be up. But let's give credit where it's due. For once, she wore a trouser suit, which actually fit properly, albeit in the inevitable monochrome, this time black, although oftentimes it is beige or white. She looked as good as she can. The facelift has done wonders for her. But what's up with the hair? Did you not have time to straighten it? Is she going natural? Will we be treated to an afro? If so, why was it hanging lank down her back? Or is this the latest version of inconsistency? A way of getting people to talk. And Tash, I think we can all admit that there has been, post Balenciaga, a change in style. Certainly the cosmetic surgery has done the trick. And Lady Colin Campbell actually saying this is, in terms of the sartorial aspect, one of her most impressive outings. Do you agree?
I mean, I don't like to comment on her having any facial surgery. It's clearly obvious that she's had a bit of a tweak, you know, and I think if I had her sort of money, I mean, I would probably be exactly the same. But her outfit allowed her, I think, to pile back on. Did you notice, Dan, the fake tan was back? She was a shade of Prince Harry when she was out in Paris, putting on her best model pout, and now she's in the black suit. I mean, again, she's there to accept her humanitarian award, and she does look glamorous. She did look smart. She looked tailored for a change. I thought she actually looked really nice. Apart from the jacket is pretty much open to her navel. She can never just quite cover it up. She didn't need to be revealing that much on stage collecting an award like that. If she was going to a cocktail party, she was going out to dinner or something, yes, but on stage to collect that award, it just missed the mark slightly for me.
Interesting. Now, Tash, look, let's come to the real humanitarian of the year, the guy who quietly has raised something like $23 million for the Earthshot Prize alone. And this video usually, Tash, if it wasn't for that extraordinary display last night, would be all anyone is speaking about, because to see this level of emotion from a future king is truly unprecedented. So Prince William, for Suicide Prevention Day, sat down with Rhian Mannings. Now, this is a woman who he has a real connection with, Tash, and it's a connection going back a long way. Her story is utterly devastating. In 2012, she lost her 1-year-old son, George, to a hidden illness, so they didn't even know about it. And then 5 days later, her husband, Paul Burke, took his own life. William has always had this real affinity with Rhian, and just struggled to control his emotions when he went to visit her at their family home in Cardiff to discuss the stigma surrounding suicide for this short film to mark World Mental Health Day. And I think what's most interesting, Tash, is that William agreed to let his real emotion stay in the edit that now has been released today.
Now he's going to set me off again. I cried when I watched it the first time. It's a terrible, terrible tragedy, but I like the fact that Prince William, he's kept his friendship, he's kept the connection that he has with this woman. I think the last time they'd seen each other was back in 2017. You know, her story really, really got to him, and the fact that he's still part of this ongoing journey that she's going through, helping to, you know, to highlight the tragedy that often comes with, you know, such terrible stories of suicide such as this. But again, it's a positive. This is where I find him so completely different to his brother, who is just constantly lecturing and preaching. Everything is negative. But even as a sensitive subject such as this, to do with loss, to do with suicide, he's turning it into something positive. You know, this big investment that the Royal Foundation's now done with the Suicide Network, bringing these people together, sharing their stories to give people hope. Harry and Meghan seem to use people's stories, I think, as a negative to make people, it's almost like they're just constantly lecturing people, whereas William and Catherine raise people up. And this has been never been more apparent than seeing such a deeply emotional moment. As I said, it choked me up as well watching this.
You're so right, Tash, because just yesterday, Harry was at this Movember event, and it certainly feels like he is trying to almost win back the mental health debate from Prince William. There's something quite strategic about it. But again, you're so right. With Harry, everything is political, Tash. And everything comes from a place of anger. So he warned silence is killing people. And then, Tash, he even, and this was on the official Archerwell website report of what happened, he spoke about the algorithm and said that too many young men are being raised by algorithms that make them feel powerless and hopeless. And again, Tash, what I would say is that Harry is coming to this from a political position, because you know that what he wants is to shut down freedom of the press, freedom of expression, the right for people like you and me to report on what's going on with him on social media or on YouTube. And so none of it rings true with William and with Catherine as well. And by the way, can we just look at Catherine yesterday in Oxford in her Victoria Beckham suit? Because, wow,
love her.
I know, this was another moment. I mean, honestly, so much to talk about, Tash. But again, all of what Catherine and William do come from a place of, this isn't about them. It's not about money. It's not about trying to get anyone to buy anything or click anything or join a political campaign. And it just contrasts, because actually in some ways the compare and contrast is so interesting. The fact that they did these events on the same day is so interesting, Tash, because you totally see the different motivations from each couple.
You really do. I mean, Catherine and William, I mean, she even did an essay, which was incredible, to do with the harms of social media. And I'm not too sure that Meghan and Harry didn't tweak their speech, in all honesty, after they probably read Catherine's essay.
Totally.
There were definitely some similarities in there. And, you know, the difference is Catherine isn't lecturing people. She isn't telling people what they should and shouldn't do, whereas Harry and Meghan take that route. They're telling people they're wrong for doing this and things need to change, but without actually saying or doing anything. And Catherine is just merely pointing out something that, you know, it's not necessarily obvious to everybody. There's times when I've sat there on the sofa with my husband in the evening and I'm hooked to my phone. You know, you don't realise that you're doing it, and it's just a reminder. They, to me, anything that Catherine and William are involved with, even like the Earthshot Prize, the early years, it's about hope, it's about positivity. Harry and Meghan, everything is negative, and they always, strangely, like you said, there always seems to be this link going back to control of social media, to controlling the narrative. And that's where I think that they use other people's genuine stories. Those parents joined up with the Parent Network. They are fighting for change because they lost their children in the most unimaginable and hard ways. But I think Harry and Meghan are using others. I think it's what Meghan is only capable of doing, whereas Catherine and William are using their position to highlight others, to uplift others, to improve other people's understanding, if they can, you know, help with education where it comes to the early years and things. Catherine's very dedicated to it. I watch Catherine and William and I feel positive. I watch Harry and Meghan and I feel nothing but I just want to switch the channel off.
And Tash, then the event that, as I say, would usually be dominating the headlines, because while it was a moment, it was not something many had expected. Central London last night for the big COP30 announcement, and King Charles and Prince William arrive together. A rare joint engagement. And the whole point of this, Tash, was to try and put to rest some of the ongoing speculation about recent strains in their relationship. And look, I've always been very clear. It is a professional relationship. It is a working relationship. There has always been lines of communication that are open. But of course, Tash, it has been difficult, given the Prince Harry situation, given the Prince Andrew situation, where there are differences in opinion between father and son. That said, these lovely moments together last night, Tash, made it very clear, because you'll see in this moment, Tash, Prince William is really delicately trying to get his father away from the conversation. You know, he's trying to save him, you know, and look, and there's the hand on the shoulder and just genuine love and affection between father and son, which will be very painful for obvious reasons for Prince Harry to watch.
Harry's brought it all on himself. I don't feel a single dot of sympathy for him anymore. But with the King and Prince William, sometimes when you see them at these events together, and there's moments where they don't realise they're on the camera, you just see a natural warmth and affection. I think it's obvious that they are incredibly close. I do believe that the Harry and Andrew situation has caused tension, because I think Prince William is more like Prince Philip. He would rather just basically throw out the rot. Whereas Charles obviously sees it more from, especially from the Harry perspective, it's still his youngest son. I do believe there is a part of him that wants a sort of reconciliation, but it's obviously just not going to happen. Whereas I believe Prince William is done with his brother. I think he's gone through an angry time. I think he's also grieved for the loss of his brother in that relationship, because I don't believe, even if he left Meghan, he'd ever be able to get that back. So I think Prince William leads with more of his head. And I think in situations with Harry and Andrew, that actually needs to be done by the royal family rather than the heart. The amount of times that Charles is shown Harry that one olive branch. I hate that expression now, too many. And Harry just slaps him back in the face with it every time. But it was wonderful to see these two at this engagement together. And yeah, you can definitely see the bond between father and son. And we also were told that Prince William will be going to represent the King over in Brazil with the COP30 as well, which I think is also great. But I guess because he's already out there for the Earthshot Prize, it makes sense.
Canal Citadel posted on this, Tash, Buckingham Palace has finally decided that a joint father and son engagement was in order. They're probably sick of Tom Sykes and his articles. The King and Prince of Wales are attending the countdown to COP30 at the Natural History Museum, looking smart, dapper, and standing tall. But Tash, Tom Sykes did have his own take on this. And this is a difficult one. And I'm always very transparent about the fact that, of course, it's difficult when you're talking about someone's health. But I do think the pictures last night were pretty shocking. And there is, of course, the suggestion that Charles simply could not countenance a trip to Brazil because of the state of his health.
I mean, I'll be honest, it crossed my mind as well. You can see the decline in his health. You can, of course, but he's got cancer. He is going to have a decline in his health. And yes, as I said, I did think that myself.
It's really shocking to see. I mean, look, the point from Tom Sykes, and I do have some sympathy for this, and I do understand that not everyone agrees with me on this, but his point, Tash, is that the Royal Rota is sort of engaged in a cover-up working with Buckingham Palace. So they'll post the pictures, but they won't point out some of the obvious, which is that Charles is looking very frail and there's a lot of makeup and all of that. So this was his take on it. And I just feel desperately sorry for both of them, if I'm honest. But this was Tom Sykes' take on it. He wrote, "It's impossible to look at these images, and I'm publishing a lot of them here, including some where he looks relatively okay, as I would hate people to think I was trying to mislead them with a selective edit, without seeing how much King Charles's health has declined. The man's suit is falling off him. The palace line tonight is that he would have gone to Brazil if his schedule allowed. But the truth, as these astonishing new images attest, is that his illness is taking a heavier toll than the institution will admit. Charles has shown extraordinary courage. He has been an example to millions living with cancer, proving that one can keep working, engaging, and enjoying life. In many ways, nothing has animated him more than doing his job of being king. But the attempt to play down the severity of his condition is becoming totally unsustainable. As I have noted before, the BBC and the mainstream British media have been compliant to the palace's Orwellian Ministry of Truth-style counterfactual agenda. It's not just cowardice, they are bound by privacy laws that emerge from the Leveson inquiry. Under those rules, the media cannot publish details of someone's health without consent. A senior editor once explained to me that even if they knew the king had bladder cancer, he does not, they could not report it. The intelligence I am getting from sources close to the king is that he remains intellectually sharp and full of enthusiasm, but tires quickly. He is said to sleep far more than he used to. Friends describe him as still brilliant, but exhausted. The family, especially Camilla, is deeply worried. She herself, I'm told, has had health problems that have made this year especially difficult. And Tash, I just find it all desperately, desperately sad.
I think there is some truth, unfortunately, when it comes to the King's health. I remember it was an anniversary recently. I think it was the 80th anniversary of VE Day. And it was, I think his name was Mr. Abbas. He was a 104-year-old veteran, and he gave a beautiful speech where he said about the king, that he's also been through cancer himself. And he said something about that the king is so beautiful to see the king there with his queen, who he loves very much. And it was the way Camilla looked at Charles and she burst into tears. So I've always had this horrible pit feeling in my stomach that maybe the king isn't as well as what we're being led to believe. But then I'm also hopeful that with cancer treatment now, many people can live with the disease for a number of years. But I think it is obvious to many, many people that there is a decline in his health. I hope it's not anything that will happen too soon. Let's put it that way. I'm looking on the positive outlook of life, but I think you've got to be naive to think that the king is 100% right and well at the moment.
Deeply upsetting stuff. And of course,
a royal appearance meant to spotlight an important cause has instead sparked intense online debate. Viewers are closely analyzing Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's interactions, with many questioning what their body language revealed. Segment 2. The public appearance. The discussion focuses on several moments during the New York event, where commentators point to what they describe as awkward exchanges between Harry and Meghan. Their arrival, time on stage, and public interactions have all become talking points. Segment 3. The speeches. During the event, Harry and Meghan spoke about protecting children from the dangers of social media and supporting families affected by online harm. While many agree the issue is important, critics argue the couple's message has prompted mixed reactions. Segment 4. Expert commentary. Royal commentator, according to Taz, shares her perspective, suggesting Harry appeared unusually reserved throughout the evening. She also questions whether the couple's public advocacy is translating into meaningful action. Segment 5. Bigger picture. The video also contrasts the Sussex's appearance with recent events involving King Charles and Prince William, highlighting the continued public interest in the different paths taken by senior members of the royal family. Segment 6. Closing. Whether these moments reflect genuine tension or are simply being interpreted differently remains open to debate. What do you think? Were people reading too much into the event, or did the body language tell its own story? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal news and analysis.